Hello guys, I'm Vernon, Sailing Learning by Doing. This is Marie behind the camera, and today we're going to talk about passage planning. We are trying to get from mainland Australia down to Tasmania. It's a crossing of the Bass Strait, and we are figuring out the weather and the way we're going to get down there. So join us and we'll walk you through how we do it. Okay, so right now we're down in the south of New South Wales, a place called Eden. I'll zoom in here. This is Windy, the website Windy. Down here in Eden right now, we are around in this bay here, and this is sort of the jumping off place to cross Bass Strait to Tasmania. Our goal would be to get nearly all the way down to Hobart, well at least down to Freycinet Peninsula in here somewhere in one go, and that's about 320 miles, something like that, and yeah, straight across Bass Strait. Now this is down in the roaring 40s. And as such, you zoom down a bit, it's just these fronts after fronts that just roll past here. One up here, and a lot of them go straight over Tasmania and pushing through the Bass Strait. Bass Strait is very shallow and it's narrow, and this is two different oceans. It changes direction really quick, and the swell gets up really quick, and reasonably short duration waves, so it's quite a notorious place. But it does get a really bad reputation, more than it deserves, because of the Sydney-Hobart race. There's been a couple of really bad ones where people have died, and every year pretty much boats pull out with broken rudders and keels falling off and snapped masts and this and that. The difference with them is they go on a set date every year. I think it's Boxing Day, regardless of what the weather's doing. So there's, I don't know, 200 boats going down there, and it could just be, if they'd waited 3 days, they would have had an easy trip. So it gets a real gnarly reputation because of that, but you know, partly deserved. It is quite a gnarly place. Okay, so we've been down here in Eden now about 2 weeks. As you saw in the last week's video, I'll put a link up here somewhere. We actually had a perfect weather window about a week ago, and we set off and got about 10 or 15 miles and broke a couple of things in the rigging. And for me, being new on this boat, that was enough to be like, right, we're pulling out and we're going to go back and fix all this before we cross Bass Strait and get stuck in the middle somewhere with a broken rig. So we missed out on that perfect window, which was a bit of a bugger, but we do have a stronger, better boat now. So now we've been waiting a week for a good weather window, and just every day 2 or 3 times scanning the weather. I personally use Windy. I pay a subscription, and that gives you quite a few extra things. I have used Predict Wind in the past. It's obviously good, and you've got a lot more options on that, but it's a lot more expensive. And I've been using the free version of Windy all this season in Australia, and it's been amazingly accurate, really, like down to the hour nearly. So I decided to pay the whatever $30 for the year and just do this. And yeah, we'll see. Obviously, it's really only good when you're online. It's not really good offline, satellite style, but we're fine for that. So anyway, paying a subscription gives you a few extra things, currents and things like that. But I'll show you how I use it. Now, there is a couple of things on here that on the desktop version you don't get on the mobile version, and one of them is distance planning. So you go up here, distance and planning. So you got to put in your, we're way down here on the southeast coast of Australia in Eden. You put in where we're anchored, you put in your basic waypoints. Now I can go all the way down to Tasmania. Then it asks you what sort of vehicle you're in. You put a boat, put your average speed. I'll put 7 knots. And then it gives you this window up here of, okay, so the route's 609 kilometers. It'll take exactly 2 days, 48 hours. And then, so you can sort of slide out and look at your whole route. And then this is your sailing window. So let's say we want to leave today at 3 p.m. Then it gives you the whole, basically you see where you're going to be at 7 knots. You slide through here and it shows you where you're going to be in relation to the weather, which is pretty handy. And also down here it gives you the swell, gives you the gusts, and it gives you the general sustained wind, and temperature and sun and all that sort of stuff. But if you zoom in here, see, if we would start now, we would have to motor until, well, all the way down there until 8 p.m. we'd be motoring, which isn't terrible. I mean, just getting across Bass Strait, you rather take a calm day than go straight into the wind. But then it's swinging round from the east, and it starts coming around a bit northeast. It gets a bit of northerly in it, which is perfect, really. So you start coming down, and it starts getting a bit gustier here, up to over 20 knots now, gusting 26, 2.3 metres swell, and that would be 5 a.m. So we're halfway across Bass Strait by then. And then you can see that we sort of just stay in this gusty stuff, and it's getting more, 24 knots gusting to 33 and 2.3 metres swell. And then it sort of just follows us down. If we would stay in that, we're getting up at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, would be 27 gusting to 36, 3 metres swell then, and it just keeps following us down that coast. And you see it just gets worse and worse actually, until right at the end where it just pulls out a little bit and we get this little narrow column. But so we're getting a high 3.3 metre swells, and I think the highest I saw is 38 gusts and sustained 27. As I said, and that's downwind, so if you're doing, well, we'd be doing 10 or 12 knots in that wind, so apparent wind would only be, 15, 16 knots, which isn't bad. That's fine. It's in 3 metre seas, and so you'd be surfing it in this boat. Would be doing probably sometimes like high teens. So you have to be careful you didn't like hit the bottom of a wave and flip over or stuff like that, and especially at night when you can't see the swells. So that's sort of what we've been looking at. If you get rid of that and then just look on the normal weather patterns, you'll see that's sort of what we're looking at. And then it switches around, and that's what it does here. Every day, basically, it goes westerly. And then 2 days later, it'll come in easterly, northeasterly. And then it switches around. See a westerly coming in now and a northerly going down there. And it just switches through like this crazy animal. And then look at this massive high coming through, massive low coming through here. It's basically over the whole of the region. And you're talking there 36 gusting to 50. And you'll be 4 metres seas, 5 metres seas, so you obviously don't want to be anywhere near that. This is Thursday next week. There's a massive one down there, all up here, and this is sort of what we've been looking at now, trying to find our way, thread the needle through these things. But let's say it all goes well and the forecast is perfect. You get there. Let's say the forecast is 6 hours out and we break a jib or snap something and can only sail slowly. Then that 5 hours out of the weather and us going slower, then suddenly the last 10 hours of the trip we're in the purple black colours that you don't want to be in. And then there's 4 different models, and if you look at the different models, they're all quite far apart. So they link up today, they'll all be the same. 4 days ago I saw this little possibility of going today, and 2 of the forecast models were saying the same, and the other 2 were saying something completely different. And it wasn't until yesterday that they sort of started to be like, oh yeah, we think this is probably, and they all started to be on the same page. I mean, like, okay, now I can rely on this weather forecast because they're all saying the same thing. But yeah, what do you reckon? Would you go for that? Gusting 33, 34 knots and 3.5 metre swells? So if we were still in Schiehallion, it would be a different story, because I know that boat so well now after all these years. I know how strong it is, how it handles oceans. The autopilot can keep up in anything. You just put a third reef in and a bit of jib. I even got a storm sail now and just cruise along, and I would have full trust in that. This boat, it's not that I don't have trust in it, because it was built for this sort of stuff, but I don't know it enough yet. I don't know the ins and outs. As I said, this thing will probably be surfing at high teens in that sort of wind. Schiehallion never did that. It's a different technique I'd have to learn. Do I trust the autopilot? How much sail would I need out? The main thing, I guess I haven't told you, the rigging on this, the standing rigging, is 15 to 20 years old. Now that doesn't, for all you out there, oh, it's over 10 years, you have to change it. I don't believe in that. But I do believe that 20 years is too old, and will be changing it down in Tasmania. I've already booked it in down there actually. But I'm not scared about it. I've climbed the rig, I've checked everything with a bloody fine-tooth comb, But if it's not necessary, I don't need to put stress on it in 35 knot winds, or shock loadings coming off waves and things like that. So that is the main difference, being in this boat. And also, we've only sailed maybe 500-600 miles in this boat so far, and really we just want to transition smoothly. So you've seen everything we've done on the boat so far. We've basically took 2 pretty calm windows. The maximum wind has been 15 knots so far, and we just want to sort of slowly transition up to, as you should get to know your boat in a smooth way, and not just from 0 to 100, and this would be close to 100. So yeah, that's our options. Let us know in the comments what you think we should do. For me, it's sort of obvious, and I guess for most of you it will be too. But as much as we really want to get to Tasmania because it's first week of March now. We want to be down there in the end of January. But obviously selling Schiehallion and buying this boat, and some things we've had along the way, getting everything sorted out. But at one point we do have to think, is there any point getting down to Tasmania in late March, early April? The summer's finished already, it's getting cold, all these storm fronts just keep going, winter time, the roaring 40s. At one point we'll have to be like, alright, well, we're not going to go to Tasmania this year. We're keeping an open mind and hoping that there'll be another window next week, but yeah, we'll keep watching Windy.
So yeah, as Bernard said, we are the 3rd of March, and I really hope we're gonna be able to see Tasmania. And right now, I just would like to be teleported over there, to be honest, because yeah, it's a really long passage, like quite a long one. We didn't do much as long this last years, because it would be probably 2 nights and 1 day and a half, something like that. And yeah, this weather not really make me feel comfortable. I'm a bit jealous because some monohull we talked around gonna probably go today, but they are slower and they need a lot of wind to move, and the Catamaran is different. We don't need this much of wind to going fast, and it's gonna be really, really strong and maybe overpowered for our knowledge. I'm sure the Catamaran could do, but yeah, we are maybe not knowing enough to doing it, and it's scaring me a little bit.
Alright, so we've told you our possible passage plans, but there's actually an added wrinkle that is sort of getting worse. I woke up this morning feeling pretty terrible. I think I got some sort of a spider bite or something a couple of days ago, and I sort of felt something and it wasn't too bad, but then today I started feeling pretty terrible. What's this little bug? And yeah, I got this pretty gnarly rash. Check this out, and be warned, it's not very beautiful. Yeah, and they're like little blisters everywhere, but that's not really. I mean, it looks terrible, but it's not really. It's not itchy. It's not anything really. But well, I feel pretty terrible. I've got these spasms in my. It's obviously you can see it's there, but I can hardly move my arm, and I got these spasms like in my chest, like squashing my heart, sort of. I sort of like, like. So it's not very fun right now. And I'm actually going to go and see a doctor this afternoon. It's some sort of poisoning for sure, because it's very local and it's exactly there where the pain is and the muscle spasms. I feel like a little knife stabbing in my back, and it's pretty nasty. So I wouldn't want to sail. I mean, I could sail like this, but that would be putting a lot of extra responsibility on Marie, because I'm not. My right arm's definitely not usable as much as it normally would be. So like reefing and things like that, Marie would have to step up a lot more. And yeah, we're still on a new boat where everything is sort of relatively new to us. So
and it could get worse. We don't really know.
Yeah,
know what it is.
In 12 hours this might be way worse. We don't know what it is exactly. And yeah, I wouldn't like to be at sea feeling like this, to be honest. So yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer actually that we won't be taking this weather window. We probably wouldn't have anyway, but then my health issue, whatever it is, is probably put the final nail in this coffin, and that won't be going away in the next few hours to let us go when we need to go. Yeah, our friends on Popeye over there, they're leaving at 8 o'clock tonight. But as Marie said, they're a catch. That's a Dallas Mobile, Super Marimu, I think it's called. You know, and they can just put out a mizzen sail and just cruise down. They need 20 knots to sail anyway, so they're happy. But yeah, I'm a bit sad that they're going to get down there before us. But c'est la vie.
So I'm feeling quite relieved then we decide to stay here, because I would not really be happy to have Vernon sick for 2 days at sea. And anyway, even if I am quite sad because I really would like to see Tasmania, it's a really nice place to be stuck, I think, and we really met some locals here and had some proposition to visit some stuff, to do maybe some kayaking on the river, or yeah, seeing some historic sites over here. So even if I would like to be in Tasmania, I think we can have kind of fun and seeing some interesting thing here.
Okay, so we're going to get the boat going now, pull up the anchor and motor over to there. There's actually a cruise ship over there today. We'll motor over to that side, that's the town of Eden, and we'll anchor over there. There's no wind today, so it's pretty calm. Basically, when it's a southerly, we come on this side of the bay, and when it's a northerly, we go on that side of the bay. Oh, that was a spasm. So we're going to anchor over there, and then we'll walk up the hill to the doctor, and I'll show you, I'll let you know afterwards what the doctor says about this. Okay, we're just walking back from town from the doctor, and yeah, going past the Killer Whale Museum. We actually went through there a couple of days ago. It's pretty interesting. Apparently killer whales used to help the whalers capture the sperm whales and blue whales and all sorts of other ones they used to slaughter here, and there the killer whales would help round them up and then eat them a little bit.
Yeah, they were pushing the big whales in the bay, so the fisherman doesn't have to go too far out in the ocean, and they were like in group just taking the whale close to the beach to kill it. That
was back in the day when they were just in a little, basically a 5-man dinghy, 4 people rowing and one guy in the front with a stabbing harpoon, and they just stab it until it died and then tow it back in. So obviously if they were already in the bay, it makes the job a lot easier. Anyway, result of the doctor's appointment was, I guess, good. Turns out I got shingles. It wasn't a spider bite. I've never had shingles before, but I have had chicken pox, and apparently it's just a herpes, some form of herpes. Everyone who's had chicken pox, it stays in your body, and then yeah, when you're getting close to 50, like an old bugger like me, it's probably going to pop up once or twice. So yeah, and it's apparently painful. Marie's father had it, right?
Yeah, my dad had it really bad. Yeah, it can be really painful. I think it's quite crazy that Vernon is handling that great.
Well, I'm not feeling that great, to be honest, but yeah, at least I can still walk around and stuff. But yes, I got some antiviral stuff and I think 7 days of pills, and I should be feeling good. And there's no weather forecast to go south in the next 7 days anyway, so.
No, but that was a good idea at the end to not going, because I know that zona can, in French is zona, how do you say, shingles?
Shingles.
Can really knock you out at the bed, having crazy headache and things. So having a night then you're not sleeping correctly, I think is gonna not helping at all.
Yeah, and I got 38.5 degrees. I got a bit of a fever, and
You're rabbits.
And yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's a good thing. At least I know now what it is. Like, so I'm not feeling any better, but mentally I know that I've taken my first 2 tablets. I'm on the way to good health again. Don't you bloody come and attack us.
No, they're not attacking.
They can be sneaky, these magpies, but the ones in this town actually seem quite friendly. It's been about a week since I was walking down the road telling you I had shingles. And yeah, it hasn't been a fun week. It's been one of the more painful weeks of my life, to be honest. I really wasn't expecting that. Shingles, the word, doesn't really sound very nasty, but wow, it's a nasty, nasty sickness. I was just painful and had really cramps and headaches, and I had a strong fever, and yeah, it was just shitty. I slept really badly. I had to take painkillers, which I normally never do in my life. And yeah, it was pretty not fun. No way to sail during that time, and so we just sat around. Anyway, I have finished the drugs. I'm feeling a lot better. The rash is still here, but the blisters have sort of gone. It's just a red rash now. and the fever's gone, and I'm getting my strength back, but I've really still got a lot of pain and like deep, like an aching, sort of dull ache inside my whole body on this side. But anyway, you don't need to hear about all that. In the start of the video, we told you about the passage planning we were planning to do, and there was another boat that was anchored next to us, Popeye, a Marimu, Super Marimu, something like that. Two friends of ours were taking that weather window that we decided not to take, and when they got down there, we chatted with them, and they did say it was pretty gnarly. They had 30 to 40, gusting to 50 the whole way, 5 to 6 meter swells. They had swells coming over the back of their boat into their cockpit, and that's on a big heavy 47-foot boat. We would have been surfing down those waves crazy. I probably would have had to put drogues out. Yeah, old rigging, standing rigging. It would have been not good. So I don't think we would have taken that weather window regardless of whether I got shingles or not, because I didn't have a good feeling about it. But it was sort of good to be able to, you know, back that up and be like, yeah, it was crappy, because forecasts are only forecasts, and you don't really know what it would have been like. You're always like, nah, maybe it would have been fine. But now hearing from them, no, it wouldn't have been fine. It would have been a terrible passage for us. So I'm quite happy about that. And leading on from that, we are now, end of March, basically. Talking to friends down in Hobart. The weather already changed down there a week ago. The seasons have changed. It's cold. It's getting way more volatile with the wind and weather. So we have decided, regretfully, that we're not going to go to Tasmania this season. We're going to put it off for another time. We were only going to be there till the end of April, which is only a month, you know. There's not really much point, you know, waiting another week maybe to get down there, and then maybe, you know, having a couple of weeks and then coming all the way back, and it's not really worth it. So we've decided to go north. As you saw on the way down, we came from Pittwater straight to here. Didn't see anything of the New South Wales coast, so we'll be stopping along the way on the way up. We'll bring you some videos from there. And then we'll be stopping. A friend of ours has offered some assistance in Cronulla, and that's where we'll be changing the rigging, the standing rigging. So we'll be there for 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe. We've got some other jobs to do as well. So if any of you would be interested in having a meetup, we haven't met anyone in Sydney just because we haven't even been to Sydney. We only stayed in Pittwater a few days. But we know a lot of you viewers come from Sydney area. If you would be interested in having a meetup, seeing me and Marie, Cronulla's probably a pretty good place, as we're going to be there for a while. We're going to have an association there with the yacht club, so we could possibly meet some of you. So let us know in the comments below, or contact, reach out somehow. Let us know if you'd want to meet up, and we can come up with a date. So that's going to be basically the whole of April. We'll be there, or a good part of April. Anyway, that brings the end to this video. It is a very long talking video, zero action. We have not made a video like this before. I guess probably none of you have made it this far to the end. But if any of you have, yeah, hopefully you're patrons, because I want to say thank you very much to you guys. Yeah, just incredible. So generous. Thanks, you know, all the support you guys give, feedback and all that. Yeah, we wouldn't be doing videos like this every week without you guys, to be honest. It's way too much work, and yeah, that's just being honest. We make a living from this, and you guys provide that through giving us some support. So if any of you out there would like to become patrons, there's a link below in the descriptions. You can see what's on offer down there, and you know, any support would be super appreciated by us. So yeah, we'll see you next week, probably with a video about the next trip, which will be to Bermagui. Thanks guys, see you then.